Paladins is ready to launch? Yeah, fucking right. Do you actually think this game is ready to remove what seemed to be the permanent beta label in the title? You gotta be out of your fucking mind. I haven't played Paladins for that long. During my time spent with the game, I've experienced the highs and lows along with everybody else. I went ballistic when they decided to add probably the worst update they could have ever added, Cards Unbound. I watched from the sidelines as they tried their very best to convince people that Cards Unbound was a good thing. I was there when they decided to eventually, and much to my surprise, remove it. While I haven't been through all of it like some of you, I can say that we've been through the worst, and the fact that we're still here after all the bullshit like the removal of skin customization, a feature that has been in the game since practically day one as far as I'm concerned, shows that we still do care about the game in some way. Yeah, that's right. I actually, unironically, do care about Paladins. It might be terribly managed, and might be influenced by horrible people, but it's a fun game regardless, and I still prefer the gameplay of it over Overwatch, despite not putting as much time into it. I can't believe there are people out there who actually honestly believe that I am an Overwatch fanboy, and that I hate this game. And to those of you who do believe that, fuck off. The only other game I've ever bought from Blizzard was Warcraft 3, and that was fucking years ago. I've never played StarCraft or any of the Diablo games. I paid for a WoW subscription for a month out of the entire time it's been out. And while I do love the world Blizzard has created and all the lore behind everything, if you can call Blizzard's mediocre writing lore at all, I think WoW is a piece of shit and probably one of the most boring MMOs I've ever played in my entire life. Fuck, even Ninja RPG, a text-based MMO that I've no clue how to fucking play, gives me more enjoyment than World of Warcraft. For fuck's sake, the entire focus of the channel, and the only reason why I got so many subscribers in the first place, was because of all the bitching I was doing about a Blizzard game. So calm your fucking tits if you think I'm about to get Hi-Rez or something, cause I'm not. Look, I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent, but I just had to emphasize that I am not biased towards one company or another. Both Hi-Rez and Blizzard have their faults. I'm not gonna sit here and compare them to each other because that's not what this video is about. This video is why I don't think Paladins is ready for launch. Some of these reasons might be me just nitpicking, but a few of them have very valid reasons as to why the game isn't ready to be presented in any official way as of right now. Let's first address the biggest issue myself and many others have been having. The constant game-breaking bugs that have been more and more common after each and every patch. If you've seen my con review, you'd know that I encountered the glitch where the map doesn't load and leaves you with something that looks like a bad LSD trip. I thought it was something new, but apparently, according to many people in the comments section, this problem has been around for a long time. If that really is the case, you can bet your ass it's probably not going to be fixed for launch. It doesn't happen very often to most people, and for me, it only occurred once within my total playtime of 150 hours or so. But the fact that it does happen, and it has been happening for a long time, in both casual and even competitive matches, shows me Hi-Rez hasn't figured out what causes this game-breaking bug, and may not have decided to fix it at all, since there are other, more common bugs that occur. Another thing that I consider game-breaking is just the constant crashing overall. Sometimes while launching the client, the game crashes. The game crashes for a whole bunch of different reasons, but I think the worst case of crashing at all is when you are in the loading screen about to get into a game and the game just shits itself. Why, just last week when I decided to start doing my Paladins competitive placements, after 10 minutes of waiting for a match, I finally hit the loading screen and nothing happened, and that was just my first fucking game. I didn't even bother trying to play the other ones. The game just froze. I couldn't even Alt-Tab out of it, or Alt-4. I couldn't even do a fucking Control-Alt-Delete. I had to do a hard reset. Each and every patch that comes out, these crashes occur more and more. Like in my con video, I crashed while loading into the game, and when I managed to finally reboot the computer and rejoin, I wasn't even able to play. In this case, I just couldn't do anything. I just sat in limbo until the game was over. Every day on the Paladins forum, in my Discord, and on the subreddit, I see tons of people complaining about the matchmaking. Or lack of it. Golds versus diamonds, plats versus masters, bronze versus diamonds, it's just crazy. If you tried to play competitive at all, you know what I'm talking about. In either casual or competitive, the game has a very difficult time matching you up with players of your own skill level. How exactly are games supposed to be fair if you constantly get queued up for matches that are horribly skewed towards a certain team? It's not a game-breaking bug per se, and I guess you could say it's not really a bug at all, it's just some programming inconsistencies, but nevertheless, it's bad and it needs to be fixed. No one is going to take this game seriously as a competitive game if they are constantly matched with players of various skill level. It's a problem and it needs to be fixed as soon as possible. In fact, it should have been fixed before competitive actually came out. The Hi-Rez Defense Force can't defend this by saying it's just a beta anymore come Tuesday. And I can't wait to see what happens then. I can't wait to see what excuses come up. Another big problem I could see other people mentioning when the game goes live is the problem with the hitboxes. They just... well, you already know what I mean. Bad hitboxes can make or break a game's competitive scene. I don't know how badly Hi-Rez wants to push the esports aspect of the game, but even for casual matches, if they aren't going to be fixed anytime soon, I could see a lot of people complaining about this in the future. Again, like the last reason, the Hi-Rez Defense Force can't come and say, it's just a beta. You guys better start looking for something else. I actually wouldn't put it past anyone to start advertising the bad hitboxes like a feature. I'm sure it'll be done. There are people out there that are that delusional. As for the visual bugs, well, the game isn't polished at all. Sometimes parts of the UI are gone, sometimes it's missing entirely. The champions still end up with bald heads every once in a while, and the game still does this. Other than these blatant problems, we still have minor issues like the repeating sound glitch, and all the skins not having the same level of detail and polish. There are still missing mastery skins, and a lot of the champions are missing splash art on the loading screen. Imagine a new player coming into the game who didn't know any better and they see this. I mean, what the fuck? I wouldn't think this is ready for launch. I'd write Paladins off as an unfinished, buggy piece of shit. Hi-Rez Chris made a post where he said, and I quote, "Even now, with Paladins a million times more polished than it was at the start of early access, we do not consider Paladins a truly finished product. We know there's still work to be done. We are going to keep polishing, keep refining, keep fixing bugs, and keep putting out awesome new content on a regular patch cycle." Chris, if it's not a finished product, why announce that it's officially being launched? There's a clear difference between a finished product that has a few bugs and a game that looks half finished and only works maybe 3/4 of the time. It's pretty obvious that the game isn't ready for an official launch, so the question is, why are they doing it anyway? Why is Hi-Rez releasing the game now? Personally, I think it's just because they're looking to release it on the Nintendo Switch to try to make some money back after losing a ton of it over Cards Unbound. Some of you might think I'm just being a boogeyman or a conspiracy theorist, and while that may be true, think about it. They already data mined Nintendo-related files in one of the latest patches. Hi-Rez has already put Paladins on PlayStation 4 as well as Xbox, and it's been on PC since day one. There are almost 20 million Nintendo Switches sold as of today, and you can bet your ass that out of the 20 million, there are a handful of people that don't own a PS4, an Xbox, or maybe even a PC. I'll also bet that there are plenty of people that do own a PS4, Xbox, and PC that have a Switch and haven't played Paladins yet. I own a Switch myself, and while there are games out there for it right now, there aren't that many. Most of the ones released we have right now are either expensive ports or exclusives that everybody has already played. There are no games like Paladins out on the Switch right now, as far as I know of, let alone a somewhat traditional FPS. The Switch is also the only current gen home console that doesn't have Overwatch. Knowing this, it's the perfect time to strike. It's an untapped market, and I have a feeling that bringing Paladins to the Switch will make Hi-Rez a good amount of money. The Nintendo market is ripe for the picking, and that's why Hi-Rez is taking advantage of it. But in order for them to do this, they have to take the game out of beta. Nintendo does not allow beta games to be released on their eShop. Right now, a lot of us feel that it still has some ways to go before it actually gets out of beta. But according to Hi-Rez, if it looks like a modern game at first glance and it doesn't show any sign of crashing most of the time, it's ready to go live. Going back to the official launch announcement post, Hi-Rez Chris follows up with this. But what this does mean is that we're planning no more major system changes. We found a formula that works for everyone, free cards and sweet cosmetics. And then italicizes this next part. If you've been afraid to get really invested into Paladins because we might change things again, don't worry, this launch is our commitment to this vision for Paladins' future. This part of the post is what doesn't sit well with me. The mere fact that they have to put it out there that they aren't going to be fucking around with their game anymore shows that they know they can't be trusted anymore and realize their mistake, which is a good thing, but you gotta understand, it's Hi-Rez. They promised tons of shit before and went back on their word almost every fucking time. Remember, we remain committed to Cards Unbound? Yeah, it's not the best example, but it shows that they'll do whatever they can to keep the player base around as long as possible with the hope that they end up spending more money in the game. And while removing Cards Unbound was a good thing, they still lied about keeping it. I know I sound really negative about the whole situation, but can you honestly blame me? After everything we've been through with Hi-Rez, adding things we don't want, trying to convince us that it's what we need, removing things we paid for, and making changes without telling us. Doesn't it seem a little strange that they have to try to convince people they aren't going to do this anymore? I know they're full of shit simply because I've seen them say the same thing about tribes, and I believe them. Overall, my point is, don't think for a second that this game won't see another major revision somewhere down the line, because trust me, if it's not making them enough money, they will do something drastic again. Hell, Hi-Rez Chris contradicted himself in the official launch statement, and no one even fucking noticed. He said that they're going to keep refining things until everything is finished. How do we know he's not full of shit? How do we know he's not going to refine it to the point where something is unrecognizable? Or somewhere, sometime in the future, the Hi-Rez CEO won't give a shit about what Chris said and forces him to come up with a milking scheme even worse than Cards Unbound. The guy clearly doesn't care about what other people think of him or his games. I mean, for fuck's sake, he's such a shithead. You think I'm an asshole? The guy got banned from Reddit because he said he'd only release more information about Global Agenda 2 if people upvoted him, which, funny enough, never even saw the light of day. The CEO of a company couldn't even be bothered to read the rules of a website and held information at hostage for just some stupid fucking karma that would make him look like an internet cool guy. What the fuck? Anyway, back to what I was saying, Paladins, like Overwatch, will never be a finished game, because online multiplayer games like this aren't really games, but more like services. These will never truly be finished. They can always improve. They can change. Just because a game makes it live doesn't mean it's going to be the same game later on in its lifetime. Who knows though? Maybe I'm wrong about Hi-Rez. Maybe they finally realized what it takes to keep a game alive and keep players happy. Maybe they finally learned that creating a fun, fair game that doesn't insult the player's intelligence is what creates a great experience. Maybe, just maybe, they understand now that they shouldn't be planning games solely to become cash grabs. Or maybe they haven't learned a thing after all. I mean, they jumped on to the Battle Royale genre for fuck's sake. I really hope they don't end up limiting or dropping support for Paladins in favor of it. I mean, Hi-Rez is known to do things like that. When the game finally comes out of beta on Tuesday, we can expect to see reviews come in from all the big websites, and I feel like they aren't going to do Paladins enough justice, especially if a particular reviewer has played the game at any point before launch. Can you imagine a big review website mentioning how fun Paladins is, but also brings up the fact that they keep on removing all the things that people paid for, and they try to introduce all this pay-to-win bullshit? Just basically, can you imagine a review site pulling up all the bullshit they tried to do in the past? Hopefully they don't do that, because the game does need more players, but hey, even if they do, reviews don't mean anything. Breath of the Wild got perfect 10s all around, but it's still a piece of shit. I guess all we could do is pray. Pray that Hi-Rez doesn't fuck up anymore, and pray that the game is in a playable and presentable state come Tuesday. And if you're an atheist and don't believe in praying, well, pray anyway. Anything being handled by Hi-Rez needs a fucking guardian angel or something. That's it for this week. What's your take on all this? Do you think Paladins is ready for launch? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, leave a like if you thought it was somewhat entertaining, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, if you like what you see. I currently upload one video each Sunday, so be sure to visit again next week. Also, I have a Discord server, the link is in the description below. There you can find other people to play with, talk about Paladins or any other game you want, post outdated memes, and visit our infamous and most active channel, the Porn Channel, where everyone just posts porn non-stop 24 hours a day. Anyway, thanks for watching. Here's hoping Hi-Rez doesn't fuck up any further. I'll see you next week. Later.